Hello, I'm Patricia Bankins. I'll be your host as we go through the action research project I conducted this spring. UMUC and the Florida Virtual School paired up MAT candidates with Florida Virtual School content area teachers, where the graduate students acted as teaching assistants for 6 weeks and collaborated with their Florida Virtual School mentors to develop action research projects that would rectify or improve a problem students were having in their course. Dr. Walker was interested in helping her students who had fallen behind in their coursework. We determined that learning reading strategies would help students finish their reading for the course and study for the AP exam. It would also help Dr. Walker meet a Common Core literacy requirement for her course. Dr. Walker mentioned that students had been asking how to study for the AP exam. Dr. Walker and I agreed that the stop and think reading strategy in combination with other strategies would give students a structured way to go through their texts. After Dr. Walker reviewed my lesson plan, we decided the best way to get students to my live session was to sell it as part of the AP review. I like the 3 articles I found because they all conducted studies similar to what I attempted to do in my action research project. In Reading Actively Online, 2 groups of secondary students received training in an online annotation tool called Diigo. Diigo is a powerful, free, easy-to-use tool that supports users highlighting, adding notes, and commenting on the notes of others. In Dang and Lou's study, students used virtual sticky notes to define terms, analyze different positions, record thoughts, make claims, and draw conclusions. Learners were able to construct notes to express personal meaning while reading. Dang and Lou's findings agreed with Higgins' 1993 study that adding notes is more important to critical reading than highlighting, as it is more closely connected with formulating conclusions based on evidence, which is one of the aspects of the Common Core requirement this assignment is helping to fulfill. In investigating students' use of an online annotation tool, researchers explored how a group of English as a second language students use an online annotation tool to help them read and comprehend electronic text. The annotation tool did help students organize their notes and share notes with others. Hence, student responses were divided into personal learning and collaborative learning. One student in the study commented that making notes immediately in the text helped her to remember what she had read. Sometimes, if students have not received reading strategy instruction, they do not understand how critical those immediate impressions about the text are to their comprehension. They ignore it. They don't write it down, and it's gone. The ability to stop and note their thoughts right next to the text that inspired the thought helps students to connect to the text and gain a better understanding. In the article, Metacognitive Online Reading Strategies Applied by English as a Foreign Language Students, the study had 2 purposes. First, to investigate what metacognitive online reading strategies the surveyed low to intermediate level students reported using for academic purposes. Second, to discover how they use the reported strategies in actual reading tasks. Metacognition assists learners in deciding on how to do a particular task. Therefore, metacognitively aware readers are more conscious of their reading process and the demands of the task. Researchers concluded that foreign language learners use metacognitive strategies to improve their academic reading comprehension. This study's findings are parallel with the results of Carros and Doppler's 2007 study, in which they reported online reading requires prior knowledge sources such as knowing how to find a specific word within a text or using reference materials online. My participants were the secondary students in Dr. Walker's AP Computer Science course. There were 141 students in Dr. Walker's class at the start of the practicum. About 85% of her students used their Florida Virtual School course to supplement their regular school day. The general text for the course lives in Educator at the class site. IMAX is their online Java syntax and lab book. Students are issued sign-ins to access the text, and it can be accessed from the course website but does not live inside of Educator. I decided not to do a survey because of time constraints. I was afraid it would deter students from participating in my lesson. I plan to start my baseline with the 10 students who attended my live session. At the close of my lesson, I asked students to send me copies of the Stop and Think organizers they completed on their own. I gave students my contact information and let them know that they could text me if that was more convenient. I plan to analyze the graphic organizers that were sent back to me and interview the students to determine if their comprehension had improved. I received no student graphic organizers or review sheets. Dr. Walker promised to forward any work that came to her. If students could replicate what was demonstrated in class, then I would know that students had understood the conceptual knowledge of Java programming well enough to comprehend how the reading strategy is being used to extrapolate information from the text, that students remembered and applied procedural knowledge to perform a text walk on the online textbook. All students are susceptible to pick up a new strategy and run with it, but never tell the teacher that it's working. It was interesting to me that the Kuro article that inspired me to begin researching online reading strategies also influenced the other researchers I referenced in my project. Google Docs was referenced quite a bit in the homework assignment I was grading for AP Computer Science. Students' comments about how conducive Google Docs is to online collaboration led me not to limit students to using Microsoft Word as a vehicle for their Stop and Think graphic organizers. Their comments led me to speculate about creating a series of graphic organizers online, where students could collaborate, share notes, and build a complete set of review Stop and Think graphic organizers for the different modules of the AP text. Several of the researchers I referenced used modified versions of ORSORs to establish their baseline. Next time, I would be interested in finding out what permissions or procedures need to be in place to use a modified version of ORSORs in my next action research project. Again, this is Patricia Bankins. I hope you learned something new from my project. I know I did. Thank you for listening.